If both of these conference finals end in sweeps, we will have 9 days to wait until the finals. Run It Back starts now.
Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, then run it back. Run it up.
Woo! Happy Monday morning. This is Run It Back. Wow, a rare occasion. All four of us in our respective homes. Look at us. Look at us, just boring home people. I'll go ahead and introduce everybody. Shams Charania, Stadium Insider right there. Chandler Parsons and Eddie Gonzalez coming at you live. And guys, I mean, I know some people are mad about it, but I ain't. We might have two sweeps on our hands. We're going to start with the one that happened last night because it's fresh in our memories. Oh, good God. Celtics, what are you doing? Absolutely destroyed by Miami, 128-102. They now have a 3-0 series lead. Jimmy Butler is everything. Gabe Vincent turning into everything. And Jason Tatum was there. Chandler, who do you blame for this?
Well, first of all, before I even get into the Celtics and their absolute meltdown, I've never done this before for a year. I got to issue an apology to the Miami Heat, to the fan base, to the players. I have slept on them all season long. I am on the record saying that they aren't going to win in advance. I am on the record saying whoever wins, Philly or Boston, is going to beat them, and it's going to be rather quickly. Ooh. And I was dead wrong. And this team is unbelievable. And they play so hard, and they all know their role. And they have really just put their foot in a lot of people's mouths, including me. So I just had to say that initially because they have been super impressive. And I'm not so sure they can't win a championship this year, no matter who they play. It's looking like Denver. But who's to blame on the Celtics? I mean, my God, where do I start? Everybody. I think it starts with the best players. I've always thought that. And this comes down to Tatum, and this comes down to Jaylen Brown. You can't have 12 and 14 points and go 6 for 17 and 6 for 18 in the biggest game of the season. You're now down 0-3. No team has ever come back from 0-3. No team will ever probably come back from 0-3. It's a huge hole. It's a huge mountain to climb. And the Celtics, they just look defeated. They didn't play with the same edge. They're not playing with that same toughness that has put them in the position that they have. So I know Mazzulla is saying the right things, and he's taken ownership as a first-year coach here, but this is on the players. This is on every single person that stepped on the floor last night. This is on Malcolm Brogdon having 0 points, going 0 for 6 last night. This is on Derek White going 3 for 9. None of them came ready to play. None of them stepped up in the biggest game of the season. And now it's looking like their season's going to be done rather quickly. So, again, this is an absolute fall from grace from Boston, but you got to give the Heat credit because they have put them in awful situations. They have played tough. They have forced them into bad shots. They have defended. And like I said, everyone on that Miami team just knows their role and are just playing it beautifully.
It's pretty insane that this was the lowest scoring team in the regular season. They're the 5th highest scoring team in the playoffs. They're the highest scoring team left in the playoffs. They have 6 guys averaging over 12 points a game. They're just getting contributions all across the board. After those 6 guys, you have Kyle Lowry, who's been effective in his own way as well. So who do you blame for the Celtics? You blame the Miami Heat. You blame them for averaging 120 points a game in this series. You blame Eric Spoelstra for having them coached up. I made a joke yesterday. They're playing 4 white American players in their rotation.
Woo, that's crazy.
And
You can't do that.
The highest drafted of them is the worst player coming off the bench. But they've managed to turn that into a playoff and championship defense because those guys know where to be. They can keep ball handlers in front of them. They're doing like basic stuff, and it's just working. They're running roughshod through the Eastern Conference. And I'm with Chandler. This is a championship team. Like when they play Denver, I'm very curious to see how that works out with Bam Adebayo, with Jimmy Butler doing what they do on defense, and the way they're just efficient on offense. I'm very curious to see how it looks. Now, I will say the Denver Nuggets played them twice this year, beat them both times by double digits. So, but clearly, whatever the Miami Heat were in the regular season, the lowest scoring team in basketball, they're averaging 120 points a game versus the number 1 defense in the league from last year. We got to stop talking about the regular season with them. It frustrates me as a fan because I care about the regular season, but clearly the Miami Heat do not. And they have the right idea. They made 3 of the 4 last Eastern Conference Finals, and they're on the verge of a trip to the finals, and they're beating a team that we thought was unbeatable all season long. And so who do we blame? We blame the Miami Heat.
I think when you look back at what Jimmy Butler said when they lost Game 7, that's got to be the most savage response. He's like, we're going to be better, and we're going to be back here, and then we're going to win. And that's exactly what they're going to do in this series, up 3-0. I mean, what Miami is doing is the number 8 seed after the season that they had. You know, I don't know if they were just duping everyone, they were trying to play everyone, or they just played with the regular season and then just turned it on. But Jimmy Butler, I mean, his percentages, his numbers, they've gone way higher in the postseason. He's shooting way more threes now, and this team as a unit, Bam Adebayo, I've been saying it all year, he's been such a big part of this team, even making the play in the playoffs when Jimmy Butler was in and out of the lineup early in the year. He's played like the best big man in this series. I think he's only gotten better as the playoffs have gone on. He's playing like the all-star 20-10 type of guy that this Miami Heat team has needed over the last several years to be a competitive team. But I mean, what they're doing, the first ever 8 seed to win by 25 points or more in a playoff game. So right off the bat there. And they're undefeated at home in these playoffs, and they've made Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown look completely exposed in this postseason so far. So you have to give Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat a lot of credit.
It is crazy that they can literally put anyone on the court and they know what they're supposed to do and they all contribute. It's a beautiful luxury to have as a team, especially when you see other guys not have that. Unfortunately, Chandler, I know you're putting a lot of the blame on the players, which is the logical thing to do. But the guy who's going to feel the most heat is Joe Mazzulla. Here he is after the game.
Joe, the biggest game of the season, a game you had to have, and you guys just looked completely lost after the first 6 minutes. What exactly happened out there?
I just didn't have him ready to play.
Over the last 48 hours?
Yeah, I just didn't have him ready to play. I should have, whatever it was, whether it was the starting lineup, whether it was an adjustment, I have to get them in a better place, ready to play, and that's on me.
Unfortunately, under coaching, one of the big job description points is having your team ready to play. So that's probably going to be an issue for him, Chandler. But the team itself, body language, everything, it looked like they all just quit. Is that fair to say?
For sure. They look defeated. They look and it's hard in that situation. You're down 30. You're getting absolutely just dubbed, in the biggest game of the year. Again, it's hard to not pack it in and have those summer plans start sneaking in. And again, this was smart by Mazzulla. He's trying to get the locker room still. He's taking ownership. This is his first year. He's going to be there for probably some time. And is it partially his fault? Yes, there's some in-game adjustments he could have made. There's some rotation things he could have made, but he's not the reason that Jason Tatum's first in missed shots this postseason. And, he's not the reason that he's first in turnovers and that he hasn't made one field goal in this series in the fourth quarter. So, yeah, again, this does fall on the coach a little bit with in-game managing, but this is a players' league, man. But players got to play. Players got to be effective. The system's in place. They've been doing this all season long for 5, 6, 7 months. It's devastating because this team had hopes and this team had championships expectations, and they are just absolutely blowing it. But again, this is more about the Heat for me. We talk about the development. If I'm a player too that's not a lottery pick or a 10-day contract, I'm signing with the Miami Heat. They are proven that they don't care your past. They don't care what you've been through. If they bring you in, that's enough for me to give me confidence that I'm an NBA player now because this team believes in me because they've proven it with Gabe Vincent, with Strus, with all these Caleb Martin. This guy's a real player. And last thing on the Heat, Duncan Robinson. This guy signs a big deal. He gets just dragged through the mud, out of the rotation. All he can do is shoot. He's not effective anymore. He's been a huge piece of this team and this against the Celtics. And just shows his professionalism, kind of like a Lonnie Walker situation, that everything he's been through now in the biggest moment of their season, he's still maintained professional. He's still been ready to play. And it's great because now he's actually a trade asset going forward this summer. So I'm just happy for all those guys. But the way that they manage this team, the way that Jimmy Butler has just become this absolute superstar. Bam has just been an anchor down low. And you sprinkle in all these undrafted guys that nobody wanted. It really is impressive. And I got nothing but respect. Everything they've been through this season, 2 play-in games, knock off the Bucks, knock off the Knicks. And now they got arguably the best team in the NBA down 3-0 to go to the finals. Nothing but respect for the Heat.
Nothing but respect. By the way, that Magic tweet was about as spicy and an enraged Magic tweet that I've ever seen in my entire life, even though it was still pretty lame and mild. Jimmy Butler is my spirit animal. His level of pettiness is something that should be emulated. It should be studied for generations to come. He's trolled Horford, Williams. He remembers things, and in the heat of the moment, call back. If you're the Celtics, maybe not poke him. We'll go ahead and put that on the table, Eddie. But how do you prepare? How do you do anything about Jimmy Butler at this point? Or are we just over it? We're just moving on.
I mean, this goes to the last question about Joe Mazzulla. He waits till they're on the verge of going down 0-3 to say, hey, maybe we should double Jimmy Butler. Maybe Jimmy had less points, I believe, than Peyton Pritchard yesterday. Like, they finally got the bad game out of him by deciding to bring help. Watching him go middle over and over and over on Grant Williams and nobody help in game 2 was just baffling. I had no clue what was going on. And that is a coach's decision. It is a coach's decision. Hey, we're sitting at home. We're worried about these shooters. Hey, we're going to trust Grant in this situation. We're going to trust Jason Tatum in this situation. And then just letting these guys get torched. I don't know that they have the answer. I mean, they have, was the defensive player of the year last year, Marcus Smart. He's no answer for him. The 2 wings they got, the 2 J's, they're no answer for him. It's tough. So what do they do to stop him? I mean, they run doubles at him and get the ball out of his hands, but that didn't work yesterday. The Heat were scorching from 3, and honestly, they're just out of their depths. And I feel for Joe Mazzulla because I know that this team loved Ime Udoka. I know the players, the young guys on the team loved him, and he gets thrown into the situation where Chandler's right in LA. Like, this is a great situation. If I coach any team, it'd be this team. But when things go bad and you have a championship team, we're all going to look right at you and wonder, hey, what the hell is going on here? For him to say yesterday, I've lost the locker room, for him to say yesterday they weren't prepared, that sounds like a guy that isn't a head coach. And it has people wondering, yo, are they going to get out of that? Is Brad Stevens going to come back downstairs? Are they going to call Doc Rivers? This is a massive collapse for that team. And what do they do about Jimmy Butler? They salute, they tip their hat, and they leave him the hell alone because he's probably about to send him home tomorrow.
Seriously, just ignore Jimmy Butler. By the way, what you're not going to do is watch The Town again. That might be the worst thing I've ever heard a head coach doing and admitting to, by the way. It's one thing to do it. It's another to admit it. Shams, there are a lot of guys on this Heat team, as we've talked about, that maybe the casual fan had no idea who they were before this thing started, but now we all do. As far as the offseason market, Gabe Vincent, what are we thinking?
So he's going to be an unrestricted free agent. So he spent 4 years with Miami, starting in 2019-20, and he's made a little bit of money. He signed a 2-year, $3.5 million deal that he's on right now. But from what I'm told, when I talk to team executives, from what they tell me, this is a guy that's going to be sought after. He's proven now he can start for a team that's on the verge of making the NBA Finals, could win a championship this year. He replaced Kyle Lowry in the starting lineup. So the fact that he's able to show that he can start, he can lead a team. And I think the biggest question when he was coming into the league was, is he a 1? Is he a 2? He can show he can ball handle. And I do expect there to be a significant marketplace for him this summer. I mean, just look at his numbers. 18 points a game, 61% from the field, 56% from three-point land, 100% free throw percentage. I think he's one of the few players, if not the only player in NBA history, to score 15 points per game in the conference finals on 60, 50, 100 splits. So Gabe Vincent, unrestricted free agent this summer, he's in line either Miami or elsewhere to get a pretty sizable contract.
It'd be nice too if he goes out there as an NBA champ and starts a new job somewhere else. By the way, that Josh Hart tweet, I think a lot of us have been thinking over these playoffs about a few people. And one of those guys happens to be in the next series, Nuggets, Lakers. Ooh, could we have another sweep? I don't know, but the Denver Nuggets with a 3-0 lead right now. I'm sorry, I'll take the smile off. When the 119-108 win in Los Angeles, a stunned crowd leaving early, not shocking. Jamal Murray, 37-7-6. Jokic, 24-6-8. Look, AD and LeBron doing what they can. Reeves, obviously about to make a bunch of money as well. But whatever was proven in Game 3 by Denver, what did you take from that, Chandler?
That they're just a superior team, that when they defend, that they're an elite team. And even when Jokic has an off night, they have a guy like Jamal Murray who goes and has 37 points and dominates from start to finish. I will say the Nuggets bench has been great with Bruce Brown. He's given them such good minutes. Jeff Green comes in when they go small. He battles defensively. Christian Brown comes in, he defends. So they have a nice mix of offensive talented players. Gordon and Porter have been great all year long, knocking down shots. KCP's making shots. So they kind of have this balanced team where they move the ball. They have two heads of the snakes that can dominate inside and out. And like I said, even when Jokic kind of struggled last game, they had big games from other people. And even when they got down, I think they were down 13, 14 points in game 3, they didn't hang their head. They came back. They knew this game is the series. If we can go in there and we can steal game 3, this is probably a wrap. And they did just that. And I don't know that I've ever seen 2 conference finals, 3-0 situations where they both could be sweeps. I know it. I think it sucks for the NBA. I think the NBA also much rather have seen the Lakers and the Celtics, but the 2 better teams are winning these series, and the Nuggets are showing that they're the better team here. They're showing that their weaknesses all year long with defense, they can now defend. They're switching. Jokic is at least giving effort in the pick and roll. So they're putting it all together, and they're absolutely dominating.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we have to put, like Tyson Chandler saying right here, we have to put the Jokic and Murray conversations to bed. Jamal Murray is averaging 35 points a game in this series right now on 52, 45, and 93. Like, this is ridiculous. This is a defense that, for the most part, stymied Stephen Curry just 2 weeks ago. This is the defense that we all just proclaim the best defense in the league with what Jared Vanderbilt and Dennis Schroeder are doing. He's absolutely dismantled. He hit 30 points in the first half yesterday. They're running through defenders trying to figure out what to do with him on that pick and roll. Dennis Schroeder's all over the floor. Jared Vanderbilt can't stay on the floor, and they're using everybody else on their roster. It doesn't matter. He scored 30 points in a half. He only scored 7 in the second half, and the other guys stepped up. Because then you have Nikola Jokic, who's probably the best player alive now. Like, it's time to tip the hat and just admit it. 27 points a game, 14 rebounds, 14.7. Let's call it 15, 11 assists a game. And he's the same thing, 52% from floor, 45% from 3. Like, what do you do with those 2? And on top of that, they're playing defense. This is the best team in the league. They were the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. We dissed them all year long. We said, yo, they got to show it. They got to show it. They're showing it right now. They're outperforming Anthony Davis and LeBron James. They look like 2 of the very best players in the world. And if they win this title, it changes absolutely the entire conversation around them. But I'm going to say this. Not that winning the title doesn't matter, but we see what they are now. They're beating a championship team right now. They're dominant offensive players, and they're just great enough on defense. It's not like they're getting picked on. They're doing just fine out there. They're holding the Lakers in these fourth quarters to absolutely nothing. They've proven what they are. They're 2 of the greatest in the league. The fact that Jamal Murray is doing to this defense what Stephen Curry could not a week ago is fascinating to watch. And I think they're putting this home tonight. Like, I don't know what else the Lakers can do at this point.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Get to that. I got one prediction already, Shams.
I mean, I hate to say it, but I mean, I've seen this kind of Denver surge coming all year. Maybe I was the only one that supported them all year.
You were.
I might be biased. I saw them in the bubble in 2020, and I'm like, this team is really on the cusp. And then Tim Connolly, their former president, he goes out and gets Aaron Gordon. And I think a couple years ago, they were ready to make it to the NBA Finals. Jamal Murray, unfortunately, tears his ACL. And I think at that point, they kind of spiraled into a position where they're literally just trying to compete to make the playoffs. Now Jamal Murray's back, and he's one of 2 players in NBA history to average 35 and 5 on 50% shooting in conference finals history. Him and Hakeem Olajuwon, just 2 players. So what he's doing right now, how dominant he's been offensively, and this is a guy that Nikola Jokic has come out and said, this guy's our closer. Like, he's our best player at the end of games, and he's shown it at a really, really high level. Always happy to see a guy like that come back the way he has. And Nikola Jokic he doesn't look like he has a care in the world about MVP, about anything. He just wants to hoop. He just wants to play basketball. This team is deep. And I think the only team that would have been disappointed if they lost and really with themselves held them to such high expectations were the Nuggets. And I think everything would have been on the table if this team would have lost early in the playoffs. But now they're ready on the cusp to make it the NBA Finals.
Look, all eyes are obviously on LeBron and AD for obvious reasons, Chandler. But does it look like they're wearing down, or is this just they're just up against a much better team?
They definitely look a little sluggish at times. You see some of the clips where LeBron is not finishing, and he's, I think every other day schedule has definitely affected him. But no, I think they're just outmatched. I think they're outmanned. I think this is a better team. They've actually played very well this series. Like Anthony Davis has kind of matched the production of Jokic. He's been aggressive. They made it a point to get him the ball and get him going early. LeBron has still been a little passive, and we know his fourth quarter struggles with the threes, but he made shots last game, and they put themselves in these positions to win these games. It's not like they have, they got the brakes beat off them like the Celtics did last night. All these games have been winnable. They just haven't been able to sustain it. They haven't been able to close it. Every time they go on a run, someone on Denver kind of makes a big play or a big shot, and it just hasn't been enough. But when you look at those three guys on the Lakers with AD, LeBron, and Austin Reeves, they all three have been productive. They've got absolutely nothing from D'Angelo Russell. He's been really, really bad, and that's hurt them a lot. Schroeder's been inconsistent. They found something with Rui, who actually has been very solid off the bench offensively and defensively. So it's a combination of they've actually it's weird because they're playing solid. They're doing enough to win a game. The Nuggets are just the superior team. The Nuggets have closed the door on every single run. Every time they need a big shot, someone makes a big play. Jokic has done Jokic things, the entire series. So it's partially their fault, but they're not as good of a team, and they don't have enough to beat this team.
Yeah, I'm with Chandler. They've performed fine. Their top four guys, Rui and Austin Reeves, are almost averaging 40 points combined between the two of them, and they're scorching from three. They're scorching from two as well. AD is averaging 29 and 14, which is exactly what you would want from him, and he's been great off ball and defense. And LeBron is averaging 24, 9, and 10. This is the type of production you think would be enough. But like Chandler said, the Nuggets are just a better team. First off, the top two, they're outperforming AD and LeBron just outright. You're getting incredible contributions from Bruce Brown. You're getting Aaron Gordon contributing on defense. KCP is lighting it up every other night, it seems. And D'Angelo Russell, for all the talk about what LeBron's shooting from three, D'Angelo Russell's somehow shooting worse from three. Dennis Schroeder's offered next to nothing on offense. Jared Vanderbilt has gotten played off the court. They've just shown that the Nuggets are a deeper team, and they're only playing 8 guys. And one of them is Christian Braun, who barely plays as it is. But they have 7 guys that can contribute in every single way on the court, both ends of the court. And it's just a better constructed roster than what the Lakers had to cobble together at the trade deadline. Where they go from here, who knows? But it's not about AD and LeBron wearing down. They look fine. LeBron looks healthy for all the conversation about that, and he finally hit a couple threes. It's just that the Nuggets are better.
Chandler, I know you mentioned that the league and you probably wanted a Lakers-Celtics matchup, but here's the deal. I speak for all the PAs across the country, every network, every channel, every station. You can stop cutting all that footage, the decades of rivalry footage that you were probably going to have to do. Just take a break. It's going to be Denver and Miami. It's new, fresh meat. This is what we should want if we're basketball fans. But is there any chance in hell, and we know nobody's come back from the 3-0 deficit, the daunting 3-0 deficit, any chance at all this Lakers team could do that?
No chance.
We're done.
Yeah, we've covered this now. The Nuggets are too good. They're too deep. They can't stop both Jokic and Murray. And I do think they might sneak this one out tonight, but there's no chance they get, tonight 5 in Denver. I just don't see that happening.
We're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, super Knicks fan Jerry Ferrara is here. I think he's had enough time for the pain to maybe settle a little bit. And it probably feels a little better watching Miami be great. We'll talk to Jerry when we come back.
Run it up, run it back, run it up, run it back, run it up.
Well, there's been a little time. So now we have our next guest joining us, and I feel like it's good timing. You probably and obviously recognize him from Entourage and Power. Jerry Ferrara joining us, also courtside. He's a courtside mainstream guy, dude, at Madison Square Garden. Jerry, are you feeling? Yeah, you're smiling. So this is good, right? You've had enough time to process.
I'm at a good place in my life with my Knicks fandom. I had some time to heal and recover. And I'm not saying I'm rooting for the Miami Heat. I'm just saying no one's beating them. So this is great for us. Like we took them to 6. I'm now proud that the Knicks took the alien Space Jam team to 6 games.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that because I do think that lessens the pain a little bit. But you were just in the Bahamas with Chandler, the man who lives all of our dream lives. What was it like? Did he embarrass us at all?
No. He was he did real well out there. I got to watch that game with him and Charles Oakley and all that stuff. So it was incredible. But yeah, Chandler definitely enjoyed watching my pain.
Chandler.
So me and Jerry, there was basically an episode of Entourage where there's all these ex-athletes. There's Jerry, there's Kevin Dillon, Kevin Connolly, and we're sitting there and it's game 6, right? And so I go to Jerry, and who's obviously a diehard delusional Knicks fan. And I said, all right, I'll give you odds. And I bait him into it. I give him very good odds. I say, I got the Heat for this amount of money. You get the Knicks for 3 times that money. No points, no spread. What do you think? And we sit there and I just watch him just blow up in flames. And he was not happy. I wish I had the video footage to show you guys, but man, that was a fun time.
Yeah, at one point we were all sitting down as me, Connolly, Dylan, and Chandler. I'm like, well, Chandler, I guess you're the new Vince because you fit right in with this crew. And then the only time ever I paid a Venmo debt and I was like, what's your Venmo? I just yelled at him, give me your Venmo, Chandler. Just give it to me, all right? Just pay air. I was so upset. It was so upsetting.
So, Jerry, I know as a Knicks fan, it was probably heartbreaking how the season ended. But do you still consider this year a success getting to the second round?
Absolutely. This is like, I love the Knicks fan community. I have a lot of friends within the Knicks fan community. And of course, we get carried away. There was a golden path to potentially getting to the Eastern Conference Finals, and then anything could have happened. We ran into the juggernaut that is the Heat. But yes, I'm thrilled. Look at where we started. Look at the season we were coming off of. And this is why I get so upset when everyone turns on Julius Randle so quickly, regardless of the playoff performance. I understand it didn't go as planned, but he has accepted the challenge. He has 2 out of the 3 last seasons. He made all NBA. So I just think everyone needs to calm down a little bit and realize we are ahead of schedule. No one had us getting to the second round and taking the Heat to 6 games and potentially reaching the Eastern Conference Finals. So I'm disappointed, but that's gone away and the future's bright. We have assets and we have Jalen Brunson. So the future is really bright.
Yo, Jay, big fan. First of all, I cannot believe you honored a bet to the real life Vinny Chase. Oh my God, Chandler. There's no way he would have to get it in blood. But looking forward, you have all those assets. You have Julius Randle's poster getting ripped off the wall over there on 8th Street. What do you want the Knicks to do going forward? And is trading Julius part of that process for you?
You know, my opinion is I'm not trading Randle. I think that's ludicrous. I get the postseason performance wasn't what we wanted, but for me, what I would like to see is a fan shooting. Get me shooters. We've seen what it's done for even the Miami Heat with Duncan Robinson coming alive. No one missed. Gabe Vincent doesn't miss. Caleb Martin doesn't miss. Kevin Love came in there. He didn't shoot well, but he's still a threat. Just get us some shooting so we can space the floor for Brunson and Randle and RJ. I want shooters. So I'm going to take a long list of all the shooters that are potentially possible that we could get, and I'm going to beg Shams to give me some info, and he won't. And that's how my offseason is going to go.
I like to think that there's a celebrity Knicks fan thread that's just constantly going, knowing how Knicks fans are, and it's a great passion, and I love the fan base. But I like to think that like you and Ben Stiller and Tracy Morgan are just texting each other like, "Don't shoot the ball, Julius," or something about RJ Barrett when you get mad. Is that a thing?
There's a version of that. There's definitely Twitter DMs and texts that go around. I am in a big Knicks Twitter DM. I don't know, this thing has like hundreds of people in it, and it's awesome. And it's kind of going on. But then now we're like recruiting. They're like asking me, like, "Hey, can you get Ben Stiller in here?" I'm like, I'm not asking anyone to join this Twitter group. But yeah, I mean, Ben Stiller is one of my favorite people to talk Knicks. I probably met and talked with Ben a bunch of times. I don't think we've ever talked about Hollywood or movies or TV shows. We only talk about the Knicks. So it's real. I mean, that courtside, I went to game 2. It was like an out-of-body experience because I've never been to a Knicks playoff game at this point in my life. I'm 43 years old. It's my first playoff game.
Oh, that hurts. Sorry,
first Knicks playoff game, and you were on the biggest celebrity row, I think, for Knicks game this year. Maybe you sat next to Aaron Rodgers. What did you guys talk about? What were those conversations like? We need to know.
I'm going to be 100% honest. We had in-depth basketball conversations. Like that dude loves basketball. We talked to Bill about, the Bucks and, his link with the Bucks and stuff like that. And I ended up talking to Sauce Gardner a lot too, who I don't know if it was his first or second courtside game, but and also seeing Sauce Gardner like stand up next to Aaron Rodgers, I'm like, is he like taller? I'm a Giants fan, and I was even thinking in my mind like, these Jets are really going to be a problem, and that bothers me because I have a lot of obnoxious Jet fans in my life. But we talked about basketball, and the cool part about that game, which is, not only did the Knicks win, but that game was sort of decided in that corner where we were sitting. Josh Hart had all those big threes and the offensive rebound and players diving all over the place. That game was decided in that corner where we were sitting.
Yeah, so you said you're obviously a Giants fan. Did you bust his balls for going to the Jets and not the Giants, or what was the conversation like there?
No, because I think, the Giants, I think, if I remember, could have they took Thibodeau, I think. So I mean, he is very, very impressive. No, I really do. I'm bothered by the fact that how good I think the Jets are going to be this year. So, but no, I didn't. That's the thing. I'm sitting there with the Jets. I couldn't even really. They don't want to talk about the Giants, so we didn't talk football at all. We really kept it about basketball. But yeah, that whole celeb row, I thought they would have put me in like the last row because I'm like Power. I've been dead on Power for 2 years, 3 years now. I don't know if I get the feet on the wood like I used to, but they did right for me.
Come on, you got to be on the wood. What are we talking about? I'm curious, how does that work? You get there on the Garden, you're courtside, and this, going in like, yo, me, A-Rod, Sauce, or yo, me and Jessica Alba. You show up and just boom, here's Tracy Morgan with his big ass chain, and we're talking hoops. No, you don't know. Obviously, look, like I said, they've always, really treated me well, and I've done a lot of work for MSG with like the 2K League and stuff like that. But you get there, you don't know where you're sitting or who you're sitting with, but then you do see like, oh, Chris Rock just got here. There's 2 front row seats gone, and Dave Chappelle walks in. It's like, well, there's another 2 gone. Like you're going further back in the arena in your mind. But yeah, I mean, and I gotta say though, it's cool. I mean, all those guys and girls, like they're all big Knicks fans. And it's real. The love for the team is real. It's not just let me sit courtside and get a cool picture. They diehard Knicks fans for years.
So Jerry, now who do you root for? Like, are you all in on the Heat bandwagon? Am I going to see you in Miami tomorrow? Like, what's your day-to-day right now as a fan?
Look, I wanted these series to go a little longer. We're looking at sweeps, or at least what do they call it? Gentlemen's sweeps when it goes 5. I mean, I just want to see more basketball. I do think I was listening when, you guys were talking before, and yeah, I think, and I actually got a question, I guess it would be for Chandler, but I think that Boston does fire. I don't think Boston's going to go quietly. Now, whether that means 5 or 6 games, I don't know, but I do think they'll put up a fight. Chandler, with the Lakers, right? Because I look at Jokic and I look at that game 2 when the Lakers were exhausted and Denver wasn't. Now, I know they're a little younger, but does playing in Denver, has that benefited Jokic just in a cardiovascular way? Like when he goes on the road, because he's so used to playing in Denver with the altitude and all that, does he not get tired ever in these road games too?
You actually see some guys train in like Denver or Aspen in the offseason just to kind of get your lungs right and to get your legs. And we talked about it on the show. Making it every other day in the playoffs was a huge disadvantage for the Lakers, for LeBron, for AD, for these guys that are older, that are banged up. So that's definitely a factor. And those guys, like you feel good early, but until you get that second wind, you're cooked, bro. Like it really does affect you. And that's probably the best and biggest home court advantage in the NBA, just because of that factor, because it's physical, right? It's not noise. It's not the crowd. It's not the rep. You have all that, but that altitude is no joke, especially when you're 39 years old, like LeBron, and you just played a day and a half ago, pretty much. It's tough. But I don't think either team just lays down. I'd like to think neither of them are going to get swept, but I mean, who knows, man?
I took one sip of a beer in Denver and I got buzzed like 10 times quicker. And also, I'm 43 years old. I can't even stay awake for the West Coast games, let alone play in them like LeBron. Yeah. I have a hard time. getting through the fourth quarter at 11:30 at night. So I think I just hope for more games. That's what I'm really rooting for. Is like, let's get to game 6s, maybe make it a little spicy.
Yeah, I'm with you. Big news today, Jerry. Carmelo Anthony officially retired. Were you big fan? Were you not? What was your take on him when he was a Knick?
Huge fan. I always say that anyone who takes on the task of trying to win with the Knicks and everything that the organization's been through, I give everyone respect. That's why I give Randall the respect. I know it wasn't, some huge acquisition at the time, but with Melo, the only thing I ever wished for Melo, and it is connected to Denver, so full circle, I just wish that the Knicks didn't have to give up every asset to get him. Like, if they waited a few months, they probably could have signed him. Or would have signed him. So I just would have liked to have seen him with more of the talent that they were actually starting to acquire. And Amari was a little, wearing down by that point. But I just give him nothing but respect because he tried to win in a city where they're not known for winning. And I always said, if you could bring a championship to the Knicks, that's like 2 anywhere else. And he tried. So Melo's one of my favorite Knicks of all time. And, I wish him well. I'm happy he retired and went out, with this great career to look back on.
Everybody knows about that Knicks conversion championship rate. It's like completely different math that they're not used to. Look, there's a lot of, this must be the question you get asked the most about an Entourage reboot. There's talk. Is it happening? What has to happen? Or would you be a part of it? What's the deal?
I really do think Mr. Parsons got this thing started. He posted that picture and then all of a sudden the picture went viral. And that, look, once a year, there's always talk about it. And, we all live in different cities now, and I go a little bit without seeing those guys, although we're always talking. And when we get together, like we're all just in the Bahamas together, it does make you say, it would be fun to dust this off and do it again. I just think we would have to really revisit what the show is. I don't think we could all be living together in the same house in our 40s and 50s, maybe. I think we would have to really revisit. Maybe we bring in like a young Vince cousin. Maybe he has like a cousin who wants to be an actor. So we're the old heads and we have this new generation. I think it would need something like that.
I mean, we live in a nostalgia era for entertainment. So this would be huge. By the way, word on the street being you, is that you have sticky fingers on sets. What have you, I got the posters back there. We see that. What have you taken and why?
Oh, I take anything I could take that they won't arrest me for. I had the posters back there with Power. Like I took the sweatshirt that Proctor got killed in. I mean, my prized possession is the Fukijamas, the gold Air Force Ones that are actually, they're right over there. If you want to see them, I could bust those out. Yeah. So I take everything I possibly can because I think it was Jack Nicholson. Now this is a myth. This is probably not true. So I'm not trying to slander Jack Nicholson's name. I feel like there's a mythical story that when Jack Nicholson works, his rule is like, if I touch it, I own it on a set. So like if he wears a nice watch, it's like, well, this one's mine. Don't know if this is true. That's just something I heard as a young actor. So I went off that. Yeah.
Yeah, I like this.
As Ghost would say, Proctor. Jerry, were you as sad as I was when you got shot down in your finale episode? Like, I was depressed. You're my favorite lawyer of all time on TV. Tell me, what was that like, and where does that rank for you as far as characters?
So Power Heaven is a funny place, right? No actor, when you think about a show like Power where most of the characters die, I think about it from an acting perspective, like those are people who are no longer have a job, right? So there's that level to it. But I thought I was going to maybe get it in season 5. Like I said, my character was starting to know a little too much, but then I make it to season 6 and I start thinking, wow, I think I'm going to see the end. I'm going to make it to daylight. And then it becomes like the show Hard Knocks. You're on the studio lot one day and someone comes up to you and is like, Courtney Kemp, the showrunner, would like to see you. Bring your script. They tell the players trying to make the team, bring your playbook. Bring your script. It's like, oh my, it's happening. It's happening. And you walk into her office and she's like, she just gives you like a smile and like a sensitive kind of sigh and says, yeah, Proctor's gonna die in episode 5. It's been great. And it's sad. You get to know all those people for so long. It becomes like a family almost. But I will say, I went out with a bang in a shootout with Tommy Egan, who's the Terminator. And when that episode aired, I think I was on my honeymoon. So it was a fun way to sort of get all the, I mean, people were sad about it. And I think that's the flattering part. And it lives on to this day. They're still saying if Proctor were alive, I would have, Tariq would have been out of this mess already. So it's Power Heaven's a fun place to be. Proctor.
Yeah. Proctor. Look, if you're going to get murdered, that Tommy's the way to go, as far as I'm concerned, and always was. Jerry, this has been an absolute pleasure. Enjoy the rest of the, hopefully the Heat taking care of the Celtics. I think it will help. Help you sleep.
It will help
night.
Ease the pain, yes. And thank you. And let's do this again, please. Let's do this again.
Absolutely. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, well, Draymond says if he would have never punched Jordan Poole, they'd still be playing. He says a lot. When Run It Back returns.
Run it up, then run it back, yeah. Run it up, run it back.
When NBA playoff games tip off, there's no better place to bet than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because now you can build a same-game parlay after the game has already started. Live SGPs are just one of the new features added for the playoffs, so go check it all out right now on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Time for some scoopage with our own Shams. We got some all-star news, Shams. Talk to me.
Yeah, so the NBA, they've been meeting ever since this year's lackluster. I mean, everyone I think knew this year's All-Star game had very limited competitiveness. And so ever since then, owners, board of governors, GMs, they've all been meeting to try to figure out how to fix next year's All-Star game in Indianapolis. And one idea that's beginning to gain momentum is returning back to East versus West. And I think that's something that the league is going to continue to look at. They have to have more meetings. And another idea potentially that has also been discussed is USA versus the world. And I think that's something that has been tossed around. But East versus West looks like right now a return to that is what the league is looking at pretty strongly.
Oh, I like the world.
I think it's so watered down regardless, right? Unless there's implications on home court advantage, something like some other major sports leagues do. I don't like the draft. I don't like the awkwardness of a guy finally making an all-star team and then getting drafted last on national TV. I definitely think they should change off that. The East versus West too is different because if you're on the Heat, do you really care that the East is better than the West? It's not like you're repping your conference. So either way, if you go back to East or West, I don't think it's going to be the most competitive game unless you throw in some real advantages for your regular team for the regular season. But it's definitely, they've got to make some changes because this year was horrific.
Yeah, I think this is part of it. Like the draft is cool. I know the players don't like it. I know that for a fact. When it was a Zoom and now when it's in person, I don't even think it's about getting picked last. It's just the entire ceremony of it. Make it conferences, put them back in their jerseys, go back to the regular scoring format, God rest Kobe and all that. But they got to do something, like Chandler said. They got to make it more competitive. I know what Kevin said earlier this year was they're just there too long. Like, it's just a long-ass weekend, and then there's a long-ass break. Like, maybe keep the competitive juices going. I don't know, but I miss the All-Star game being a thing. I miss it being competitive, guys caring. We're just not there right now. And I think I'm not trying to exaggerate, but I think it's hurting the game because that weekend is the celebration of the league. It's one of the biggest TV rating things that they have going. It's one of the biggest collections of players and people amongst the culture of the NBA. And we need the game to be good.
I love the U.S. versus the world. I think that'd be so much fun to watch. I'm all in on that. The Warriors have a lot of decisions to make in the offseason, including Bob Myers. Shams, what's the latest?
So Bob Myers has just over 1 month left on his contract, and then he's going to be a free agent. And right now, there's no traction on a new deal. Michelle, actually, hasn't been any offers, no counter offers in several months, really the beginning of 2023. So when you look at those tea leaves, the fact that his contract is about to end, there have been no substantive talks, I'm told, for several months, no offers made for several months. The tea leaves don't make it look like there's any deal that's going to happen. And so as of right now, Myers appears likely to walk away, become a free agent. The Warriors earlier this year offered him a deal that would have made him one of the highest paid executives in the league. But I think there's a sense around the Warriors and around Bob Myers that if he were to leave, this is not just about the money. And even if they offered him the highest contract, that this is kind of been at the end of the road for him potentially there. And so 12 years, we know about his relationships with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Steve Kerr, Draymond Green. And so I think there's going to be more conversations with all of those people before he formalizes his decision potentially to walk away. But this is a big, big decision for the Warriors in their future, because after this, they have to decide on Draymond Green. What do you do with Klay Thompson as far as extension? What's Steve Kerr's future with 1 year left on his deal? And that all revolves around Steph Curry, who looks like he's one of the best players in the league. How does this team make it and continue to move on if Bob Myers is really done?
Yeah, Bob Myers, he's brilliant. He's been a huge piece to the success of this whole Warriors dynasty, and I love the fact that he was an agent and then he became a front office member. So he sees both sides. He's relatable. He's a great guy, and maybe this is just him wanting to he's done all he can here and he wants to go do it again somewhere else. But he's an impressive dude, and he's obviously a huge piece, being executive of the year, different things like that in his role. He's one of the best there ever was, and they have a lot of decisions to make too. So whoever takes over that job, they got big time decisions to make regarding her and Klay and Draymond. So if I'm them, I'm re-signing this guy because he's one of the best.
Right? Who wants to walk in and make all of those decisions? That's a tough place to be. Shams, thank you so much. We'll talk to you in the morning. Draymond Green loves Bob Myers. He's talked about it on his podcast in various places. He also talked about the Jordan Poole punch again, guys. He said if he hadn't punched Poole, they would still be playing. Eddie, you buying that?
Look, that clearly broke their. I don't want to curse. I don't want to do the Chandler thing, but yet no duh. It obviously fractured the team and will do so going forward. We'll have ramifications that will affect that team for years ahead. People are already thinking, are they going to get rid of Jordan Poole this year? Shams reported a week ago that they're ready to offer Draymond a long-term extension. The same thing with Klay Thompson. That fractured the personality of that team in a way that we haven't seen, even with the Kevin Durant situation. And yeah, it mattered, bro. Like, you punched your teammate in front of everybody. And the future of your franchise. Steph Curry told Logan Murdoch that in the locker room after they lost to the Lakers. He nods over at Jordan Poole, says that's the future for us right there. They know what Jordan Poole is for that franchise, and then you deck him in front of everybody. Yeah, it mattered. Yeah, you're right, Draymond. And apparently they're picking Draymond in this situation going forward. So yeah, it's a lot. And if that's what breaks this dynasty up, he's got to eat that. And it sounds like he is.
Yeah, this is something you don't forget as a player, as a person, as a man, as a teammate. Jordan Poole was embarrassed. And I'd even go as far as saying this had a role in Jordan Poole's, unsuccessful run here towards the end of the season. So if I'm the Warriors, I'm not re-signing Draymond Green. I think that they've already made their decision with Jordan Poole early. Now he's struggled throughout the playoffs, but this is something he's had to deal with all season long. Like I said, he's publicly embarrassed. He's got to play with the dude that laid you out for the whole world to see. That's going to affect you. That's going to linger. You could say all the right things you want, but this is not going to just get. I don't think their on-court relationship will ever be whole again. So they're going to have to decide on one of them. One of them's a lot younger, and one of them's an offensive real talent that can sub in. So who knows? But it's not something that they're ever going to get over.
Man, just don't punch the dude. We'll be back to wrap things up.
Run it up, the running back, run it up, running back, run it up, the running back.
Get in on the NBA playoffs action right now. First tip with FanDuel. New customers can get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. There's no better place to bet all the playoff action than America's #1 sports book. Download the app. Bet on the NBA playoffs today. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. The week has just started, guys. We've had Jerry Ferrara. We have Flea tomorrow. And we have Dwight Howard on Wednesday. And Flea, if the Lakers lose, I hope he just comes on here and crushes everybody.
Yeah, win or lose to the Lakers, Flea should be awesome.
Right? I feel like I'm going to recruit Flea to the Spurs.
Almost better if they get swept. Flea fresh off a sweep.
Flea fresh off a sweep. We'll be back tomorrow with Flea. Get your socks out, boys.